Hello and welcome to our live coverage of the launch of Vega flight VV13. I'm trying to figure out if there are audio difficulties with YouTube or elsewhere because I'm showing there should be audio. I'm hoping it's off the stream. If anyone out there can confirm if or if not there is audio on the stream, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Canada Kim, for subscribing for 5 months in a row. That is really more amazing than I have words to express right now. So we are waiting for coverage to start, and I am fussing with lighting. I am so sorry. I set all of this up earlier before the sun did the whole sun setting thing that the sun likes to do. And so now I'm trying to get the lights back working again. There we go. Okay. We're going to go with that. So tonight is a regular everyday launch of a regular everyday rocket. I can't hear anything from ArianeSpace either. And I've checked their audio in a couple of different places, so I'm not entirely sure if they're sending audio. So we're going to hang out and see what happens. I am monitoring their Twitter feed to see if anyone else has anything to add to this particular issue. Hey, Drop Bear Antics, welcome. So for those of you who don't know what you've tuned into, I am Dr. Pamela Gay, and I am here to put science in your brains. We have, hopefully starting with audio in 10-ish seconds, the launch coverage of a new communication satellite that is getting launched. And I'm really hoping that we have audio to go with this. We will know momentarily. So this will be the Mohommed 6B spacecraft. This is one of the first spacecraft for the nation of Morocco. This is for science. Yes, this is for science. Drop Bear. So CosmoQuest is part of, or at least our team members hang out with the folks from the Knowledge Fellowship. We're very grateful to be part of that. So check that out. Still waiting to find out if there's audio, and it's really distracting to not know if your audio is working or not. So here's to hoping that it is. This will be a Earth observation satellite going up to help study our changing planet. And now is the exciting part where we all wait and see if audio kicks in at the end of this countdown. Now, this will be a very short mission, only estimated to be about 55 minutes total from launch to end. This is because they're simply getting their spacecraft up to orbit and come back down with one of these Vega launch vehicles. Here we go.
3, 2, 1, top, allumage et décollage.
Hello and welcome. We are live at the Guyana Space Center for the 9th launch this year, and it's a hot night here on the edge of the Amazon rainforest on the northeastern coast of South America, where our mission tonight is to deliver the Mohommed 6B satellite for the Kingdom of Morocco. There it is inside the top of the launcher on the pad, going through the final preparations before liftoff. That's scheduled in about 13
sorry
minutes
about the audio
time.
issues.
Just over, you can see the countdown there on the top right-hand side of your screen. This is the Mission Control Center where I am right now. Behind me, the teams in what we call the fishbowl behind this glass are concentrating hard at this point before the launch. And we are traveling on board the 13th Vega launcher to lift off from the pad here at the CSG. She stands some 30 meters tall, the same height as one of her big sister Ariane 5's boosters, and she weighs 138 tons. That's about a fifth of Ariane's side. And inside the top of Vega is our satellite, the Mohommed 6B satellite, attached inside the fairing, we call that pointy section at the top. It's built by a consortium of industries, led by ArianeSpace as system prime contractor and Airbus as co-prime. And it weighs just over 1 ton.
In these odd shots that you see with a giant rocket right next to the building, that is actually a model they have down at Launch Control. That is not the actual rocket. Were it, it would blow everyone up.
Is Luce Fabregat, who is the Executive Vice President of ArianeSpace. And Luce has come out of the fishbowl to come and join us and talk to us now. Luce, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Luce, let's start by telling us a little bit more about today's mission. Racontez-nous un petit peu plus sur la mission d'aujourd'hui.
Alors tout d'abord, je voudrais vous souhaiter la bienvenue.
I would like to wish you a very warm welcome to all of you, those of you here and those who are following us behind their screens. It's a special mission today for several reasons. First of all, because some of us were here a year ago on November 7, 2017 for the twin satellite, twin to the one we're launching tonight. It was satellite Mohommed 6A, whereas today we're very happy to be with you to launch satellite Mohommed 6B, which will double the Earth observation capability of the Kingdom of Morocco. It's also a special launch in that the manufacturers of this satellite, the consortium behind the manufacturing of this satellite, are long time friends, partners that we've had for many years. Thales ArianeSpace on the one hand, our client tonight, and Airbus Defence Space, the main contractor. And we've been working with them for several decades already. It's also special in that we're using Vega, the lightweight launcher of the family, which has succeeded in all its launches since it was introduced here at the CSG, and it was on 13th of February 2012.
Very briefly, qu'est-ce qui va se passer ce soir? What's going to happen tonight?
Alors ce soir, comme vous le voyez,
So tonight, as you can see, we're in the final phase of the operations. The satellite is under its fairing, the launch vehicle is on its launch pad, getting ready for liftoff. The gantry, the mobile gantry, has already been withdrawn, and the mission will be rather short, 55 minutes and 21 seconds. Liftoff will be taking place precisely at 22 hours 42 minutes, and it will be a mission heading towards the north, the sun-synchronous mission, and then the satellite will go across the Atlantic, come back down on the other side, and then we will separate the satellite Mohommed 6B.
Thank you very much indeed, Luce. Let's find out more about our mission.
So all of you out there are welcome to
Bienvenue
ask
au Centre
questions.
spatial guyanais pour le lancement Vega VV13, 9e lancement de l'année pour ArianeSpace. Le véhicule de lancement Vega placera sur...
Okay, I know what she's going over, so I'm just going to mute her and go over it in English natively. So this is the second of the Mohommed series Earth observing satellites to be launched. The last one launched November 7th of last year from the same facility. And this pair of different satellites are working to, well, keep an eye on our planet and how things change over time. This little spacecraft is going to be in a sun-synchronous orbit. This means that as it goes round and round the Earth, orbiting in a polar orbit, it will go over these same places with the same light illumination angle. This allows us to, well, always see noontime in one place, always see midnight in one place. I don't know the timing of its orbit, that I haven't been able to find, but this particular kind of repeated observation with the sun in the same place makes it very easy to see changes, because you don't have to worry about, well, shadows making things appear to change that didn't really change. This is the 9th Earth observing satellite to be launched on a Vega rocket, and this is the second for the nation of Morocco. So we're switching over to somebody else.
And the weather status panel is all green now. So the process of preparing the satellite and rocket Space Center on the 5th of October on a special plane. We're going to find out a little bit more now about the activities during that launch campaign.
La campagne d'intégration du lanceur Vega s'est déroulée de manière totalement nominale sur une durée de 30 jours.
Okay, so here they're talking about what goes on while they're putting together a spacecraft for launch. So they are literally assembling all of these pieces one at a time, getting them ready to be able to get, well, to low Earth orbit and mid-Earth orbit. The Vega launch system, the Vega rockets, this is a very lightweight system. It's meant for launching things with a lower mass. The Mohommed 6 satellite that's getting launched today, for instance, is just over 1,000 kilograms, about 2,000 some odd pounds. So this is basically literally the size of a small car. The different pieces are all transported to the launch complex. Now, this is an island, so we have things going in by sea from all over the world. There's a variety of different spacecraft that all get launched here, including both the Ariane spacecraft from ArianeSpace, as well as the periodic Soyuz rockets. So these particular spacecraft bits arrived October 5th and very rapidly got assembled. Here we are just at the end of November, and they're ready to be lifted off into space. The tests for the spacecraft, once it's assembled, only take about 2 weeks, and then it's all a matter of getting everything fueled and ready to go. And I'm not sure how to say your name. Diallo? How do you say your name? Yes, there's going to be a launch in about 5.5 minutes. So stay tuned, and we are going to be watching a launch of a Vega rocket carrying Morocco's second Earth observing satellite. This is the 9th Earth observing satellite to be launched by ArianeSpace. So stay tuned. It's now less than 5 minutes away. Last we heard, the mission was green with no weather holds on the board. As with most launches, they do have to make sure there's no boats or anything else down travel from where the spacecraft is going. We try not to kill people who might be making bad choices with their fishing vessels. But so far, all is good to go. here we go, going back.
So far, and here we are back here today at 4 minutes and 26 seconds to launch. A few key people here in the Mission Control Center.
À tous de DDO, attention pour la séquence finale lanceur.
We have things in French yet again. I'm so sorry, I don't understand French, so I can't translate this in real time.
Top, à 0 - 4 minutes.
So the Range Operations Manager has now announced the beginning of the synchronized sequence, the last 4 minutes. During this time, the computers are controlling all the final checks in the countdown. They manage an impressive list of operations, and those are reflected in the status panels. This is the Range Operations Manager. He's the one who announces all the key milestones in the flight, and on the left-hand side you can see those status panels there.
So
there they are, all green. That's a good sign. Green is go. Now these panels are reflecting the status of all the systems across the base, which send their red green signal to those panels, and before the launch all eyes are on those panels. In fact, everybody across the range. And the range is the ensemble of buildings here at the Guiana Space Center, and that includes the tracking stations dotted along the flight path. Now, these operations are being watched over by the teams in here at the Launch Control Center. These guys and girls are 1 kilometer roughly from the pad in a specially protected building.
Translation: if
Several
it gets hit,
teams
they don't
in here.
die.
One of them responsible for the operations on the ground, coordinating with mission control for final authorization to launch. We have another team which is responsible for the flight readiness of the vehicle, overseeing operations from assembly of the launcher to the moment of launch.
What?
Just under 2 minutes to launch. You can see this is...
One of the things I really love about what they do is they basically have the NASCAR of fairings. That top part that appears to be slightly bigger is designed to enclose the spacecraft, protect it from the atmosphere as they take off. And with the European missions, it's all about the branding. So in this image on the right, that's not the actual rocket, that's a model. We're looking down at the launch headquarters. Everyone's heading out to watch right now. We're roughly 1 minute away, and that's the time that you actually get out of your chair.
Pour moins 1 minute.
So that was the 1 minute mark, I believe.
Top, à 0 - 1 minute.
And we are 1 minute to launch. Our best wishes to all the teams, to the Mohommed 6B satellite teams and the Kingdom of Morocco, to the Industrial Consortium led by Thales Alenia Space and Airbus, and to the teams on the ground waiting to take charge of their satellite. Good luck, everyone. Let's sit back and watch.
So here we go with Mohommed 6B, the sister craft to Mohommed 6A, which was the Kingdom of Morocco's first Earth-observing satellite. It launched November
À tous de DDO, attention pour les décomptes finales.
So we're going into the final countdown, I believe.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage P80, décollage.
And now we enter the most dangerous few minutes of the spacecraft's life. Takes off, arcing through the sky,
La propulsion est nominale.
with the goal of ending up flying parallel to the surface of the Earth. It's taking off using the rotation of the Earth to help give it added velocity. It will be heading off, crossing over Europe eventually as it heads towards a polar orbit, so it will be going more northerly than many of these spacecrafts typically do. I could be lying, it could be going southerly. I'm sorry, I don't actually have the telemetry in front of me.
And they are off. The Mohommed 6B satellite is on its way. It's started its journey. Vega, flight number 13, blazing a trail across the equatorial skies over the Guiana Space Center. He's telling us that everything on board is going according to plan. Right now, Vega is pushing itself away from the pull of our Earth. Gravity makes us stick to our planet, but it also makes it hard to leave. And we need an awful lot of firepower to do that.
Now, they aren't escaping all the way. This is going to be orbiting the Earth. This isn't nearly as exciting as some of the launches that we've seen recently, where the spacecraft have gone simply up, up, and away, such as with the Bepi Colombo launch a few weeks ago. So as we go, let's watch.
They're burning the engine on the P-80, the first stage.
Séparation P80.
And we saw it burn out there and separate. We actually saw that with our own eyes. And we had that confirmed by the range operations manager, who has also confirmed that we've now switched on the next engine, the Z23. Z for Zafiro, an Italian wind, type of wind, rather like the Sirocco or the Mistral.
This isn't
23,
SpaceX,
because
no,
it
this
burns
is
23
ArianeSpace.
tons of propellant. Our altitude on the bottom left, he's telling us everything's going normally. Altitude, we are 83 kilometers above the Earth. Can you see it there? And our speed on the bottom right is 3 kilometers per second. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's fast, and we will be going faster.
So they are heading
Our
south on the
trajectory.
trajectory.
On the top right-hand side is the planned trajectory. The curve is the simulated curve, and the cross is the actual position of the launch vehicle.
It always amazes me how quickly these things get around the world, and by the time you
We've
hit...
gone above the 100-kilometer mark above our planet. That means we're now entering space. That's the border with space. And if you look at our image on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see that nose of the vehicle that we were talking about earlier. That is the fairing, we call it, protecting the satellite from the rigors of the launch. This is the schedule.
Z23.
This is an animation. We aren't actually watching the stage separations. That was, once again, an animation. So we are now at the point where we have ignition of the second stage, and they drop the fairings that are protecting the Mohommed 6B. You jettison those in order to get rid of the extra weight. This allows them to more effectively accelerate. They only needed those fairings lowered down to protect them from the Earth's atmosphere. This is sort of like that scene in The Martian where it's realized that because Mars doesn't have as much atmosphere, he doesn't need to really have a nose cone. So now this will work on getting it into the correct orbit. We can start to see just how rapidly it's moving across the planet. This will once again be in a polar orbit.
European launchers operated by ArianeSpace. It has set the world record in terms of precision and reliability, with 12 perfect launches in a row from the maiden flight. I am now in our plant in Colleferro, where we are developing Vega C, which will fly for the first time in 2019. For Vega C, we successfully tested the new second stage, Zafiro 40, and P120C, which will be used as the first stage for both Vega C and Ariane 6. Behind me, you see the new interstage structure for Vega C, which is manufactured with a revolutionary anisogrid composite material technology. At the same time, we are working also on a new version of Vega, Vega E, which will fly for the first time in 2024. Last week, we tested a technology demonstrator M10, the new cryogenic methane engine for Vega E. The Avio team, together with its industrial partners and ArianeSpace and ESA, are ready to demonstrate once again the strength of Europe's collaboration in the space industry. I therefore wish the best success to the 13th mission of Vega.
This is a bit meta. We have OBS streaming software being used to YouTube by ArianeSpace.
Vega is particularly well suited to launching Earth observation satellites. Those are satellites which collect vital information about our planet. Things like helping us to better understand Earth's environment and atmosphere. Indeed, this is the 15th Earth observation satellite to travel on board Vega, and we have 11 more in the ArianeSpace order book.
Séparation du Z9.
So the Z9 has now switched its engine off and been jettisoned, losing weight all the time. And what we're looking at here is the upper stage, the AVM upper stage. The main propulsion phase is now finished. We've got away from Earth. And there's our flight path. Galileo is
Acquisition de la télémesure pour la station de Bermude.
So we have acquisition of signal at the Bermuda tracking station. So Galileo was our first tracking station in the Guiana Space Center. And then we're heading north. We've picked up the signal in Bermuda. And the next one after that will be St. Hubert, which is in Canada. We are using telemetry to track the vehicle. Vega.
Once again, those were animations that we were seeing. That was not actual footage. The only folks that have any actual footage, that's SpaceX.
Well, certainly the teams in the CVI who will be visiting later to monitor the flight in real time.
So here's that animation again, looking
here at the AVM upper stage. On the left-hand side, the white cone. And that's what's left of our rocket.
Les paramètres à bord sont nominaux.
This is the scheduled moment.
Premier allumage de la VOOM.
And it has been confirmed. The AVM upper stage has switched on its engine for its first burn. So we've really started the next phase of the journey. AVM has taken the wheel. Its job is to deliver our satellite to its required drop-off point in space. Once it does that, the Mohommed 6B satellite will be able to join...
Les paramètres à bord sont nominaux. Le pilotage est calme.
All going well. It'll be able to join its twin, the Mohommed 6A satellite, as the second satellite in Morocco's Earth observation program. The first satellite has already been performing flawlessly since ArianeSpace launched it a year ago. Morocco is a modern society and truly magnificent. Stretching from the Sahara to the gates of Europe and a link to Africa, with its rich cultural heritage and modern society, its breathtaking landscapes from the coasts of the Mediterranean and the world-famous surfing spots on the Atlantic, to the snow-capped peaks of the Atlas Mountains and the oases and dunes of the desert, Morocco is a land of magnificent landscapes and cultural heritage. Under the guidance of His Majesty King Mohammed VI, Morocco is resolutely turned towards the future. The country has a booming automotive industry, and it's now Africa's leading producer of vehicles. Morocco's industries and businesses are thriving. This, combined with tourists attracted by the country's culture and scenery, make it no surprise that Morocco's many airports are experiencing a double-digit increase in passenger traffic year after year. A kingdom steeped in history Morocco is nurturing and restoring its rich heritage as a witness to history for future generations of people to enjoy from every part of the globe. Morocco is one of the countries who are making a real contribution to the fight against the harmful effects of greenhouse gas emissions. The organisation of COP22 in Marrakesh in November 2016 speaks loud for the kingdom's commitment to the sustainable development of our planet. Thanks to the mobilisation of surface water, the extension of Morocco's gigantic solar power station over 200 acres near the historic city of Ouarzazate, and the creation of new wind farms, renewable energy will make up over half the country's electricity mix by 2030. With enormous phosphate resources estimated at 75% of the world's reserves, and as the world's largest exporter of phosphate, thanks to the OCP group, Morocco has been able to develop all the value chains of this ore and help agriculture all over the world, and in particular in Africa. With its rich and important biodiversity and a long cultural history spanning several thousand years, Morocco is a 12-fold secular civilization which lives and breathes a real meeting of cultures from Arabic and Muslim to Berber and Hassani, enriched by African, Andalusian, Hebrew and Mediterranean influences. Its position at the heart of a triangle of relationships between Europe and Africa and Asia and Africa make it a player in world trade. Nowadays, its Tangier Med port is known as the new Mediterranean hub. Morocco's ambitions for industrial acceleration are reflected in things like its burgeoning aeronautics industry, a rapidly growing sector which is becoming a driving force of economic growth, making the country ever more attractive to business people, industrialists and tourists alike. And now, Morocco has the LGV, Africa and the Arab world's first high-speed train line. It was inaugurated last Thursday by His Majesty King Mohammed VI and the French President Emmanuel Macron. This first high-speed link between Casablanca and Tangiers marks the partnership between France and Morocco, a partnership which helped pave the way for the Moroccan space program.
La trajectoire est nominale.
Well, I don't know about you, but that certainly made me want to return to Morocco. What a beautiful country. And during that film, we picked up the signal in St. Hubert at the tracking station there, which is in Quebec in Canada. The Mohammed 6B satellite is the fruit of an important collaboration between Europe's two biggest space industry. We're going to go over now to the CEO of Thales Alenia Space, Jean-Louis Gall.
So right now they are in the process of interviewing people, trying to essentially do what every good space agency does and fill in this time between when your spacecraft has launched and when it has gotten into that orbit that lets you know for sure it's probably going to be okay. Now, the point that this one is finalized is still about 40 minutes away. During this time, they're going to be firing the engines at very precise moments during the orbit of the spacecraft. These firings allow it to adjust its orbit, moving into an ever more circularized orbit that will allow it to eventually keep pace over the Earth, such that as it goes from pole to pole in a polar aligned orbit, it always passes over the same place on the Earth, observing the planet with the exact same sun-planet angle. This allows for easy comparison from day to day of the changing landscape of the Earth. Now,
left of
30
propulsion
seconds
on the Avum upper stage. So it's getting ready to switch its engine off.
and there will be more firings to come.
Our altitude, 308 kilometers above our planet. You can see on the top right-hand side of the screen that we have been climbing into space. Our speed, nearly 8 kilometers per
Extinction de
second.
la VUM.
And he's confirmed that the AVAM upper stage has switched off its engine. So this means that we are now in the ballistic phase. That means we're traveling without propulsion. We are high enough and fast enough to cruise without the engine. And this lasts just over 36 minutes.
So for the next 36 minutes, they and we will be killing time together while we wait to see if the spacecraft has correctly, we know that it's where it's supposed to be. The question becomes, will it be able to fire its engines again and actually stay above the surface of the planet? When you hear that a spacecraft is in a ballistic orbit, this means that it is flying along such that its high part in its orbit is probably about where it's supposed to be. But later in its orbit, fails to miss the planet and careens into it. Typically, the way they circularize the orbits on these spacecraft is when the spacecraft gets to the point furthest from the planet Earth. Hey, thanks, Ben Science and Games, for the raid. Thank you so much. You joined us. We are 35 minutes away from the next firing of the control rockets on the Vega launch of a Mohommed 6B Earth-observing spacecraft for the Kingdom of Morocco. So welcome, Raid. We are waiting for a spacecraft to do its spacecraft kind of thing. Now, for the next 20 minutes, while the spacecraft is out of communications with the planet Earth, the ArianeSpace team is going to show us pretty pictures, re-showing us the launch. Thank you so much, Canada Kim, for the bits. Can we light up the chat for Canada Kim, please? Thank you so much. So let's rewatch the launch. Okay, so this was the launch a few minutes after. It looks like beginning already occurred when she said, let's switch to watching launch. Okay, so this is a highlights reel. We are now looking at an animation of the Mohommed 6B spacecraft attached to its booster. As it says, this is a 3D simulation. So we are on a 20-minute pause in the video while we basically wait for the spacecraft to do the spacecrafty kind of thing. So welcome, newcomers. I am Dr. Pamela Gay, and I am here to put science in your brain. Over here at CosmoQuest, we have a variety of different streamers, and coming back next week, we will be producing a daily news show, The Daily Space, that airs at 1 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Pacific. I can't math. We have coverage live of most launch events that have available streams that we can piggyback on. And we work to do all we can to bring you, well, the information you need to know what's going on in the field of space science and to participate when participating is the thing that, well, there's an opportunity for you to do. This is a production of the Planetary Science Institute working in collaboration with Youngstown State University. We are a nonprofit, and all your subs and bits are more than a little bit appreciated because they really are what keep the lights on. I haven't personally stargazed on stream yet, Ben Science and Games. We have the telescopes downstairs. I just need to set them up. I'm sorry that you had a toasting event that went wrong, Fenmil. That sounds rather horrifying. I'm not going to ask too many questions about that. Yeah, so we have a Let's Be Nominal shirt that I put a link up for earlier. So Let's Be Nominal is a thing. So SLU is a great program. They do online streaming of telescopes. I don't know if I still have an account with them. We also work with Oceanside Photo and Telescope that have a variety of telescopes around the world that we can plug into, and the iTelescope network. For those of you who either live someplace with a lot of light pollution, don't want to set up your own telescope, or otherwise would rather play on the internet than go outside where there's like bugs and snakes and skunks and things like that, there are a myriad of ways that you can get time on telescopes through the internet, either piggybacking on something simple. The SLU system is about the most easy to use one out there, or working with something like iTelescope to get, complex opportunities to gather exactly the right data you might need to do your own science programs. It's all out there and it's all yours to lease. Now, we do have a series of telescopes that we will be using to teach you observational astronomy right here on CosmoQuest. We'd been meaning to start doing that earlier, but it turns out I attract clouds and travel, and I only have control over one of those. I am going to be making a concerted effort to stay home for the next few months and to work on, upping the science. So hopefully you will see more opportunities coming to you from here in Southern Illinois as the nights get longer and cooler objects rise earlier. So nominal is actually totally what we are aiming for with rocket launches. In this case, for those of you joining late, this is the Mohommed 6B spacecraft. It launched from French Guiana and is on its way toward a polar orbit. It is currently traveling from the equator. It was headed northward. It has probably started to come around, heading towards the south by now. In 20 minutes, they will be coming back to let us know what happens when they fire the engines one more time. The orbit that they are currently on is one that's going to take them up to about the furthest point they want to be from the surface of the planet Earth. But if they don't fire those engines again, their orbit is going to be terminal might be the best word. What's going to happen, and if I'd thought ahead of time, I would have brought a whiteboard, but instead I'm going to do as I often do and reach into my desk to pull out a planet. And I'm now searching my desk. Okay, Marvin Martian is going to be our rocket for the day. So when Marvin the Martian takes off of our spacecraft, he puts himself into an orbit, and it goes more circular than what I am drawing. So he might end up furthest from the Earth down here. And as he continues to go around, if he doesn't fire his engines, he ends up plowing into the surface. That's what makes the orbit ballistic. You take off and you end up looping to being horizontal, parallel to the surface of the planet as quickly as possible. Fire yourself out, get to the furthest point in your orbit, start heading back. And what I anticipate the spacecraft will do is down here at that furthest point in the orbit, will fire the engines one more time. And this will put our little Martian on a trajectory that will keep going in a circular path. I need to do this, so I need to be circular in the center of the screen. He'll be circularizing his orbit. Now, the Mohommed 6B spacecraft is a Earth-observing spacecraft. It is the second in a set launched by the Kingdom of Morocco. The other one launched in November of last year. Working together, these two spacecraft will offer regular coverage of what's going on, will enable science, and will enable the kinds of, well, Earth monitoring that gets used for everything from weather prediction to tracking. Well, let's make sure those cargo ships down there in the harbors are actually going where they think they're going. So please go ahead and ask me any questions you may have. Yes, suborbital is totally the polite way of saying ballistic. It's kind of a euphemism. So Michael Meyer is talking about going to Marrakesh with his wife. Oh no. There's a lot of irony in what occurred, Michael. I had a very similar, so for those of you not reading the chat, Michael conveyed that when he was in Marrakesh, which is one of the major cities in Morocco, he and his wife Rosie got tired of eating Moroccan food, as sometimes happens when you're traveling and you just want something familiar. And they went to get pizza and ended up with basically a very thin crust that was painted with tomato juice, which is not the same as tomato sauce, and other random bits. They didn't exactly find it edible, so they got Moroccan food. I had a moment of stupid in Beijing. I was there with a group of colleagues, and my graduate student who went to Beijing University as an undergraduate was traveling with me. And one evening he asked if we'd be okay to go get dinner by ourselves, because he wanted to go get dinner with friends who still lived in Beijing. And we said, sure, we'll be fine. And we set off walking to find a restaurant and settled on the first place we saw that looked like they had a full bar. And we had found a American restaurant, a Chinese restaurant, making a restaurant owned and operated by Chinese people that were making American food in Beijing. They put a fried egg on everything. Everything had a fried egg on it. So it was a fascinating failure to find good food, but the full bar was nice. Yes, that is exactly what they're doing, Ben. It turns out that when you're orbiting, and I'm looking to see if I have anything I can use that's better than what I'm currently using. I have so many things on my desk, and it looks like Marvin the Martian is going to be my best bet. So I'm going to hold him like a pencil as he orbits. So here's our Marvin the Martian. And the way orbits work is if I have him in an orbit, I'm going to do this higher up. If I have him in an orbit that is elongated, passing behind my arm, so here I have an elliptical orbit. Now with my hand, because I lack coordination, I am not timing this correctly. It turns out that Marvin's going to go really fast. Slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down. Jump around, slow down, speed up, speed up, speed up, zip, 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 zip. And this is because there is equal area traveled in equal amounts of time. This is one of Kepler's laws. Thank you so much, Plague 7, for following. Please don't be contagious. The way it worked was Kepler, in trying to understand orbits, which he realized were very much not circular as it had previously been thought, because that was a philosophical ideal. Turns out that when you actually do science, orbits are elliptical. And one of the things that Kepler discovered is as they travel on their elliptical orbits, they sweep out equal amounts of area. So when close to the object, moving quickly, making large fat triangles, and when further away, traveling slower, making small skinny triangles in equal periods of time. Hello, Paranor. Launch went fine. We are currently waiting for them to come back in about 12 minutes to fire the engines and, I believe, circularize the orbit. I am just catching up on chat. I'm so sorry to hear about your friend, Loopy Dragon. That's hard. I'm glad to know he's getting better. And thank you for adding the permitted term, Fenmel. AutoMod has issues. Someone put AutoMod in the corner, if you can, on this channel. Launch went fine. It was a clean launch. Went off without any delays. All green across the board. I'm glad to know that his parents were able to go over and help him out, Loopy Dragon. I have played Kerbal, or more to the point, Ben Science and Games. I have watched other people play Kerbal while providing snark and sarcasm. I do need to learn to play it and use it as a teaching tool. So it's a thing that will happen. It's a thing that will happen. So that's cool that you're also a mod on another channel, Loopy Dragon. We have a great group of mods over here. I'm watching to see what's going on as the mods try and edit Nightbot so that Nightbot can put AutoMod in the corner. Yeah, those poor Kerbals, but those Kerbals seem to just take it on the chin. They're good with it. They know that sometimes when you're exploring, it doesn't always go right, but it's better to keep exploring. Hopefully killing spacecraft and robots rather than actual flesh and bones. There was a chair? Not yet. Okay. Is there anyone in my channel that's got the VIP badge? So I haven't figured out how to set that up yet. No, I know exactly how to set it up. I haven't figured out to whom I wish to set it up for. So mostly I'm going to be confused. I think the way that we're going to set up the VIP badge over on this channel is it's going to showcase folks that hang out a lot, as well as the folks that do science. So this channel actually is one that supports the efforts of CosmoQuest.org. We're a website that promotes people learning and doing science. We don't just talk about spacecraft, we actually work on spacecraft. My day job is I'm a senior scientist over at the Planetary Science Institute, and we're working on projects like helping the OSIRIS-REx mission team figure out how they're going to find the rock that is going to someday get brought home to the planet Earth. I think trying to figure out how to get VIP badges based on linking Twitch accounts is something that I want to dig into the API and see if I can figure out how to do. I haven't figured it out yet, but these are the things. Yes, it does need editing. You're right. I just switched jobs. Paranor, please feel free to edit away. You know all the things. So yeah, I'm not the only streamer on this channel. It's our entire team. So you're going to see regulars in the chat. So Susie Murph is actually she is our new and social media project manager. We have Nancy Graziano, who's our community manager. Dr. Matt Richardson, Dr. Andreas Plazas, both stream. Thank you, Plague7, for the bits. Thank you so much. All bits go to support our entire team down at through the Planetary Science Institute. So as soon as we have enough bits, we're going to be bringing Annie on and working in collaboration with Youngstown State University. Oh, you didn't show up just at the end. You showed up while we're killing time. In 6 more minutes, coverage is going to be coming back. Thank you, Astro YYZ. Can we light up the chat? Thank you, Plague. Excellent. Easily distracted. All the happiness. Light up the chat. So we are currently in waiting mode, waiting for the Mohommed 6B spacecraft on its orbital boosters to get to the right place in its orbit for them to fire those boosters and work on circularizing this orbit. This is the Kingdom of Morocco's second Earth-observing satellite, the other one being Mohommed 6A. And this was the 9th ArianeSpace launch of the year. And ArianeSpace is really making a name for themselves using their Vega rockets to launch Earth-observing spacecraft. It's a perfect little lightweight spacecraft designed to be launched on these handy-dandy little tiny rockets. Thank you so much, Plague. My Martian is being happy for you. Thank you so much. Yes, you have time to go get chocolate, Astro-wise. Thank you so much, Plague7. So yeah, this is what we do. And we science. So this spacecraft is one that's going to allow the Kingdom of Morocco to do science focused here on Earth. A lot of people, when you ask them what's the closest planet to Earth, you see them, they're thinking, or not to the Earth, what's the closest planet to us? That's the key question. What is the closest planet to us? And you see them thinking, trying to figure out, is it Venus or is it Mars? It's Venus. But while they're thinking, they forget that we live on a planet. And when you do planetary science, that includes our world. This is made more confusing by the fact that NASA has a variety of directorates where Earth science and planetary science are indeed separate directorates, but considering they put all of stars, galaxies, dark matter, visible matter, everything else that isn't in our solar system in one directorate, I think we can all agree that there are weird ways the directorates at NASA are labeled. So yeah, Earth is a planet and we use the same technologies to study it that we use to study other worlds. So Ben Science and Games is asking, do you know and have ideas for distant space travel, which I will need for my upcoming series? What's your upcoming series? Tell us about it. So distant space travel, one of the things that is so confusing in astronomy is when you say distant space travel, Thank you, Fenmil. My Martian is doing more happy dancing for you. Yeah, I need to laser cut rockets so that I have some. Thank you. Yay! Annie's gonna get all the bits. Hey Mars 2, welcome. So Mars 2 takes his name actually from a story rather from the world, but we like him anyways. So Mars 2, can we get a shout out to Mars 2? And a shout out to Ben Science and Games who raided us earlier. I'm so bad. I get so excited about raids. I forget to shout out to the raiders. Mars 2 is a narrator who streams various books. He does amazing voices. I was listening to him today do Treasure Island, and he had clear and distinctly unique voices for all of the characters, and it was fabulous. That, yes, Drop Bear Annexers. I need to just find time to sit down and specialize all those things. But going back to what Ben Science and Games was saying, this is your intro to Voyage into the Universe, space, into darkness. Far, far away from home, in the vastness of the universe, lies a dark and quiet place where dust storms abound. That planet that we are approaching is lifeless, or so they say. This has a name, and it is Mars. So that's not that distant as space travel. That's actually kind of up close space travel. But I'm happy to tell you anything you might need to know. Getting to Mars is one of those nice, simple kind of things that we've pretty much perfected. Landing on Mars, we're really good at not succeeding. But getting to Mars is one of those really straightforward things nowadays. Now, they should be coming back in about 30 seconds, so be prepared for me to switch over the audio to catch what they say about circularizing their orbit. This will be a sun-synchronous polar orbit. This means the spacecraft will be going over the north and south pole of the planet Earth, and as it traverses from north to south, it will, or south to north, depending on where it is, it will be seeing the planet over and over with the sun's shadows always aligned the same at the equator. Seasons will screw things up from north to south. That sounds really cool, Ben Science and Games. I'm always happy to consult on things like that. I've done some consulting for some other science writers, and haven't done a science game yet and would love to. Venus is death. Here we go.
Here at the Guiana Space Center. You're looking
that rocket is a model.
At the, not the real Ariane 5, but a model here at the just outside the Mission Control Center. We are 43 minutes into the launch of the Mohommed 6B satellite for the Kingdom of Morocco, and right now, it's flying through space, attached to what's left of the Vega launcher, the Avum upper stage. The upper stage has switched off its engine. That was about 25 minutes ago. We've been coasting without the engine ever since. In the ballistic phase, that means without propulsion. We're outside visibility of the ground stations right now. All part of the plan, all normal. Vega is scheduled to check in with New Norcia in Australia in 15 minutes' time, roughly. The story so far: we lifted off from the pad 44 minutes and 36 seconds ago at 10:42 here in Kourou at the spaceport. The satellite traveling on board a Vega launcher number 13, VV13, the 13th one to lift off since it took to the skies in 2012. And the first 3 stages all went according to plan. The powered phase of the flight lasted 6 minutes and 30 seconds and got us into space. Then the next phase started when the Vega Avum upper stage switched its engine on. Its job is to deliver our satellite onto its orbit. It switched its engine off again, and we went into our ballistic phase before switching the engine back on. Next, what will be coming up will be the separation of the satellite, and that's what it's going to look like. Now, building a satellite is no small feat. It's a big and complex engineering project which takes a lot of time, a lot of people, and a lot of expertise. And once we're in space, we can't go and repair it, so everything has to work absolutely perfectly. And that's why engineering for space is such high quality. Every component.
We used to be able to go and repair things, and we've done it more than once. We just can't do it now.
So need ground systems. The control centers where the teams fly the satellites, and of course we need to collect the data and analyze it, and this involves a lot of teamwork. The Mohommed 6B satellite is the result of excellent collaboration between the Moroccan teams and the industrial consortium led by Thales ArianeSpace. Together, they have created an advanced satellite with cutting-edge technology.
Nathalie vous a présenté la mission du satellite Mohommed 6B.
So they're currently going through and explaining again about what the rocket is. This is a video that we saw earlier today. Basically, they wanted to make sure everyone was here, everyone was tuned in, and now they're back to killing time using lots of cool information while we wait for the actual firing of the rocket. In just over 9 minutes, the spacecraft is going to be in its final orbit. We are truly reaching the end of the interesting part where we're waiting, and at this point assuming all is going to go well. But one misfire and we have one dead satellite and a whole lot of crying scientists. So Plague is asking, will drones that can return to Earth be a replacement for the shuttle? It's unknown at this point. It really is. There's so many different people working on so many different strategies right now. It's hard to figure out what exactly is going to happen. There are different spacecraft being planned that can go out and grab a spacecraft and bring it over to a platform. There are all sorts of different things, but currently there are no space planes under development here in the United States. I don't know if China has any, but the Russians don't have any. It was really the fact that the U.S. space shuttle, when it flew, had that Canada arm capable of grabbing a spacecraft and bringing it into that, well, pickup truck of a spacecraft's bay that astronauts were really able to repair things. So Mars is asking, when a multi-stage rocket separates, what happens to the separated parts? So the lowest ones will often be recovered. Hold on, we're checking telemetry.
Sends a signal to the tracking stations along its flight path. They have big dishes which listen out for the rocket as it flies over. Now, we've been outside the range of the tracking stations for approximately half an hour, and during this time, Vega should have been storing information about the flight, and soon we're scheduled to check in with the tracking station in New Norcia. That's actually a European Space Agency tracking station near Perth in Western Australia. It has a dish of 4.5 meters wide.
The Perth dish is the same one that was used by the Apollo missions to track the launch of those. It was also used. It's the one that you hear about when you watch the movie The Dish. I am actually a voice actress, Ben, Science and Games. I'd love to talk to you about what you do. Mars 2 is here, who's here is also a voice actor. But, okay, so they have confirmation of signal.
Yeah, and they're sending the information to these teams here at the Immediate Visual Control Center, who are tracking and monitoring the flight in real time and also using the information to make an evaluation after the flight to see how it went. He's telling us that everything's going according to plan on board, and you can see our flight data on the bottom of the screen has returned.
That's an animation.
And of course now Vega should be sending all of that information that it stored during its gap in telemetry to the New Norcia station, and then of course New Norcia sends that here to the CVI.
Okay, so now we're just waiting.
Can you see Vega turning? Now these are...
Manœuvre d'orientation avant le deuxième allumage de la VOOM.
He's telling us that this is the orientation maneuver before the second burn of the AVM upper stage. These are CGI images, computer-generated images. The experts put a lot of information into the computer, and these are a simulation of what's happening in space, giving us an idea of what it looks like. Even getting ready to switch its engine back on. It has to circularize its orbit. At the moment, it's on an elliptical orbit. That means it's the shape of an egg, an oval.
Deuxième allumage de la VOOM.
And he's confirmed that we've switched the engine back on. So now we need to turn that orbit into a circle, and we need a little bit of power to do that. The AVM upper stage is... Yeah, it's all going well, all going according to plan. It's the clever part of the launcher, the smart stage.
Tous les paramètres à bord sont nominaux.
Its job is to deliver the satellite to a specific orbit, and it's designed to inject different payloads into different orbits.
One of the many reasons
the upper module contains the avionics. That's the sort of thing you find on airplanes. Flight control systems, navigation, communications, that kind of thing.
2 more minutes.
Then the lower module is the propulsion module. It has 4 tanks containing 2 types of liquid propellant.
La propulsion est nominale.
And the propulsion is normal. The engine can switch on and off up to 20 times.
And they do have to move these satellites
using
occasionally.
A special dispenser. Ukrainian company called Yushnoye. Interestingly, when it crosses the border to Italy, where it's integrated by the Italian company Avio, it becomes Italian.
So...
Deuxième extinction de la VOOM.
So we have the second engine shutdown of the AVM upper stage. So we are now on our orbit.
And
altitude 611 kilometers. Our distance, 17, nearly 18,000 kilometers, is our distance if you were to draw a straight line across the Earth from...
So this orbit is higher than the orbit of the International Space Station, but it still counts as a fairly low Earth orbit. At this height, it will be going around the Earth roughly every 2 hours-ish. And here we go.
Space ballet. It's getting ready to release the satellite, and it has to go through a very precise, very carefully planned set of maneuvers. Everything's going well. We need to orientate the satellite correctly so that we can set it on the right path. top right-hand side, you can see how we climbed initially very steeply into space. Then we plateaued out a little bit so that we could pick up speed and then start going higher and higher into space. And we're now at 612 kilometers above our Earth. The upper stage uses some nozzles to orientate itself.
Mohommed 6B.
And we have confirmation of the separation of the satellite, the Mohommed 6B satellite being some very happy faces there. Congratulations.
I love the one guy who stood up, cracked his back, and then hugged the guy next to him. It was like, okay, I'm done waiting. I can now just like, I should be clapping. I guess I'll just hug this person. It was the best body language. So that concludes our coverage of the launch of the Vega 13 and the launch of the Mohommed 6B satellite, the second Earth observing satellite launched by the Kingdom of Morocco. The Earth is now going to be studied just a little bit better in a little bit more detail. I'm going to hang out a few more minutes and I'm going to work to answer your questions without an interrupting spacecraft. I'm going to start by going to the question that Mars 2 had about what happened with the various parts of the spacecraft. So as the spacecraft takes off, it sheds a variety of pieces. Exactly what happens to each piece depends on what kind of a rocket it is. In general, the first stage of the rockets falls back down into the ocean. Sometimes they're recovered. The United States, for instance, recovered the solid rocket boosters that were the first stage of the Space Shuttle launch system. The SpaceX, they don't just let them splash into the ocean, they actually fly them back to land on barges. The additional stages have a variety of forms of death. In general, they get to such high orbits that they burn up on reentry. Now, those fairings, historically, the fairings that clamshell around the spacecraft at the top of the rocket, they fall off before that second stage is done burning. And SpaceX hopes to be able to someday catch them. Now, none of us know how that's gonna happen. They're basically planning to have a speedboat doing the moral equivalent of I've got it in the outfield with a giant net trying to grab a fairing as it flies and flutters, and I'm dropping things off my desk as it flies and flutters through the atmosphere. I kind of don't know how much I think they're going to succeed, but I really want to see the video, especially with like the hee-haw soundtrack in the background. The dual landing of the Falcon Heavy is truly amazing. You do need to go watch video of that if you've never seen it before. So other questions out there. Yes, I need Mr. Steven to catch. I think it was actually a paper cutter that I dropped. Yeah, I definitely need something to catch everything I drop off of my desks. But Ben Science and Games, I'm happy to answer any science questions you may have. Hit me up on Discord. I also go by Starstrider personally all over the internet. We're here to help you get your science right. And If I don't know the answers, someone else on our team just might. We are primarily a planetary science focused project right now, but my specialty is variable stars and extragalactic astronomy, and I do computational work, which is how I ended up working with planetary scientists. So we have a whole bunch of different people all here to help. And can we get a shout out to Dr. WD-40? He is a astrobiologist who's now working, and I'm going to try not to screw this up. I believe you're now working more in neuroscience. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but you did astrobiology, I believe, as an undergraduate. He streams here on Twitch, teaching all about anatomy, physiology, biology. Today he was streaming about what allows two different kinds of critters to come together and create perhaps a new species, or perhaps, well, a mule that stands there being grouchy because it can't reproduce. So check him out. He does some really cool streams. A whole bunch of us are part of the Knowledge Fellowship. If I was a better human, I would have a link to drop in to link to the Discord. The Knowledge Fellowship is a group of streamers and stream watchers who've come together to, well, learn from one another. And it's really a good group of people that we're part of the Brain Bites team. I fully support the Brain Bites team, giving them the shout out too. But there's so much cool interaction filed under all the different sciences over on the Knowledge Fellowship. They're two different things, and you should definitely check out both. Yes, we also talked about how wombat poop is cube-shaped. There's an article currently up on Live Science, and it talks about how it's differences in elasticity in different parts of the large intestine of the wombat. And this is one of the most simple and cool experiments I've read about. They essentially took a bunch of large intestines from other critters, ran material through them, and measured the elasticity as a function of where around the circumference of the intestine the material was. What they found was, in general, intestines, as sausage casings indicate, tend to have equal elasticity all about the circumference, leading to circular sausages. However, with the wombat, the elasticity varies such that you have stripy bits that are like, no, I shall not. These become corners. You have other bits that do expand. These become the sides. And when you put all of this together, you have wombats pooping cubes. They stack these up, use them to mark their territory because they're mostly blind. If you are they're not mostly blind. That's a wrong way. Their vision is bad. So they navigate by smell, including their own poop smell. There is a fabulous board game called Wombat Rescue that actually teaches the science of how wombats find their way. And it's just fun. I highly recommend Wombat Rescue. So lots of weird science. So looking for questions, looking to see what Ben Science and Games wrote. So it looks like you're planning to do a fly through the solar system in a very strange order. I need to hear more. Is this fiction or nonfiction, Ben Science and Games? So yeah. Looking for other questions. Okay, I'm going to switch screens because we are now completely ignoring the stream. That has entirely the wrong logo and is the wrong camera. We're going to stay on this view. Sorry about that. I need to work on cleaning up exactly which camera my stuff is using. But hey, now everyone knows I own a Cuisinart tea kettle. I love my tea kettle. Deciding to put my tea kettle beside my work desk may have been the best professional decision I ever made. No, Susie. My other view simply jumped to using Skycam instead. Skycam is currently not having anything to do with the sky. So it is now 9:50 Eastern, 8:50 Central, which makes it 6:50 Pacific. It is the end of my day, and yes, Skycam is such a scamp, stealing the audio, the video coverage all for himself when I switch views. But I'm going to encourage Mars 2, Ben Science and Games, to check everything out, and feel free to start up a three-way conversation on the Discord of your choice. But if it isn't Mars or CosmoQuests, I won't know where it is. Let's make sure you get all the science you need. Oh, Michael, you are such a fabulous night human. I hope you're doing well with your wakefulness. So I'm going to go find myself some dinner, keep doing some science over here, and working to get things posted and ready. To give you some exciting updates on things that are coming here on CosmoQuest X on Twitch. This channel has moved to being part of the Planetary Science Institute, where I am now a senior scientist. We are working to figure out how to raise money to keep all our programs going into the future. Unfortunately, when we switched institutes, our funding, we found out after the switch, did not travel with us. So this means that CosmoQuest is trying to figure out how to reinvent itself and raise money to keep all of our programs going. We're going to need your help, and we are willing to work for it. The weekend before Christmas, we will be here for 40 straight hours doing a Twitch Hangout-a-thon to raise money for science and science education. We invite all of you to join us. In the lead up, I'm going to be coming back next Monday, the Monday after Thanksgiving, to start back up with the Daily Space, bringing you a daily dose of all that is new in space and astronomy. We are also going to be working to bring you better office hours, and more ways to learn and do science. Stay tuned. Follow us on Twitch. Check out our blog. All the details will be posted as we detail them out. Thank you all for coming. Once again, this is a production of the Planetary Science Institute, working in collaboration with Youngstown State University. Give the channel a follow and find out when me, Annie, Dr. Matt, or Dr. Andreas Plazas are here live to put science in your brain. For now, I'm going to tell you, wherever you are in the world, have a fabulous morning, evening, or afternoon, and I will be back next Monday, if not sooner. So follow us on Twitter and find out. And thank you so much for the follow, Mars 2. And I will see you all on the other side. Bye-bye.